Is Swing Life Away, is that just like, is that about not overthinking things?
Yeah, so when Swing was written, I was living in a punk house in the north side of Chicago with more roommates than rooms. You know what I mean? Everybody was sort of like working kind of menial jobs, but they all had their eyes set on something bigger. You know, everyone had kind of dreams, but those dreams weren't going to happen tomorrow. You know what I mean? We were still going to be broke. We were still going to try to figure out how to pay the gas bill. And we were still going to be living together. And I think that song was, in a rare moment of clarity, was appreciating that moment of my life. You know what I mean? Where this is cool. I know we are all broke. I know there's no promise of what tomorrow will look like. You know what I mean? But this is such a beautiful time in our lives. It's far more innocent than anything that we probably will ever experience again. That we're all just kind of like living here on this front porch, which we didn't have air conditioning, so the house was so hot in the in the summer, and so we spent a lot of time on the front porch. You know what I mean? It's kind of where and we were the kind of house where we were just off the highway, so people coming into the city to go do whatever, they would stop at our house first just to say hi or stop on their way out of the city before they went home. And it was a really cool, eclectic group of people, and my song was kind of like a tribute to that. You know, there's like lines in it like we get here or we get by just fine on minimum wage, like those kind of things. That's what we were doing. We had we had nothing, you know what I mean, except for just like dreams, as cheesy as that sounds, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of where that song came from. It was written outside of any idea of where it would end up. Like we were doing Rise Against, but at that point, I think punk and hardcore, it was so like, there were so many rules and guidelines. You can't write an acoustic song.
That's what I was wondering. Like, was it written not as acoustic song and you pulled it back?
It was written like just as me on a couch in in this house one day. And then, cause I just couldn't not write it. You know what I mean? Just messing around on acoustic guitar. I recorded it on a 4-track with my friend Neil Hennessy. And I remember playing it for the guys. And their reaction was kind of my reaction, was like, Tim, that's a great song, but we can't.
It's not us.
Can't do it. And I kind of agreed with them. You know what I mean? I didn't do it. I wasn't like proposing this be a Rise Against song. It was kind of like, I just wrote a cool song. I thought it was cool. Thought I'd show it to you guys. And then it was Fearless Records did a Punk Goes Acoustic compilation. They reached out to us and said, will you give us an acoustic version of one of your songs? And we were still in this mindset, no, you can't do an acoustic version of a Rise Against song. Like, this doesn't happen. But we wanted exposure too. This was a huge thing for us at the time. So they're like, wait, Tim, what about that thing you wrote and you recorded on a 4-track? What if we just sent them that? So that's what we did. We recorded it during our Revolutions Per Minute sessions, which was our second record, also in Fort Collins, Colorado, and first record in Fort Collins, Colorado. And we sent it to Fearless Records, and they put it out on their Punk Goes Acoustic compilation. And then it lived as a comp track for like a year or two, just kind of floating around. And then when we signed to DreamWorks, our A&R guy, Ron Handler, had heard the acoustic song, which we'd almost like orphaned. We kind of just like, that was just this moment for this acoustic comp. That's why we did it, you know? And he was like, that's a great song, dude. Like, you should put it on the record. You should re-record it and put it on your major label debut, you know? And we agreed and we did it, and it kind of changed our lives.
It's crazy. It's like Savior and Swing Life Away, 2 songs
know,
you weren't
dude.
really sold on.
This
and
is
they
why
both changed your life.
This is why you should never trust me when picking songs, singles. I'd be a terrible A&R guy. You know, like I've obviously, my compass is wrong somewhere.
Also, like, I had no idea that like Punk Goes Acoustic existed for that long. Like, those volumes and series have been going on, in my opinion. Like, now
Are they still going on?
I mean, they were a few years ago.
That's funny. I was actually just at my label yesterday, Loma Vista, which is part of Concord, and Fearless is in that building. And I was like thinking about like, oh yeah, I wonder if anybody even knows that they have the first version of Swing Life Away, like on this like comp, and it was kind of our first exposure, you know, to that song.
Wild.
Yeah, it was a wild story. It was a little curveball in the Rise Against world, especially for people who may have thought they knew what we sounded like, you know, or we do sound like, and then to maybe then hear that song. If that song was their introduction, they bought the record, it would have been like, oh, this whole thing doesn't, you know, sound like Jackson Browne.